Hey guys, welcome to the start of my brand new series where I'll be going over the mechanics within AU. In this first video, I'll be going over the basics of the game. I call these mechanics basic because they're mechanics which every animatronic in the game will have at least one of them. Before we get to the basic mechanics, I'd like to discuss some of the tools that you, as the player, have at your disposal. Pretty much every animatronic will use these two, which are the shocker and the flashlight. The shocker is used to beat every animatronic, pretty much. There are some exceptions to this, but we'll touch on them later in the series. The flashlight is really just used to increase the visibility of the locational static of an animatronic. It's not entirely necessary, but it can certainly be a very useful tool. It'll allow you to hear and see the static a lot better. So if you struggle with that, then the flashlight is your friend. Only issue with it is it takes batteries, and those can be somewhat hard to come by if you're short on fast coins or parts. The next part of the video will be going over static. Static is one of the core mechanics of the game, and there are two types of it. There's locational static, which is typically used to track down the location of an animatronic. Not every animatronic has this, though, as we'll see later in the series, like the Wizards and Funtime Foxy. But they will still have some way to locate them. Disruptional static is that static that can appear on your screen and disrupt your vision. It'll eventually disable your shocker if you leave it too long. You have to press Q if you're on PC, tap your screen on mobile, but I'm not sure what it is on console, because I don't play on console. And some animatronics have different variations of this, but that we'll touch on later in the series. Next in the video is going to be haywiring. Haywiring is a mechanic where the animatronic will appear in front of you and glitch out, typically associated with some kind of noise going along with it. There are multiple types of haywires, such as pop-up and chain haywires. Pop-up haywires are a type that are used by the Wizards and Endo O2, and they basically they tell you where the animatronic is, since these characters lack static. We'll touch more upon it later in the series when we get to the Wizards and Endo O2 and such. But they'll basically haywire in the spot they're in, and they'll charge from that place. And a chain haywire is when an animatronic haywires 2 or more times in a row, creating a chain of haywires. The next part of this video is all about eye colors, which are directly connected to the haywires. When an animatronic haywires, they will usually have one of 4 eye colors, those being white, red, yellow, and blue. Red eyes mean to look away from the animatronic, either with or without the mask on. If you look at an animatronic with red eyes, you'll lose and you'll get jump scared. White eyes are the opposite. You have to look at the animatronic, either with or without the mask on, depending on which animatronic you're fighting. We'll touch upon the mask and what animatronics use it later in the series. Yellow eyes require you to flash the animatronic with your flashlight. So when they start haywiring, you have to turn your flashlight on and hold it on them until they disappear. And then blue eyes, the most recently added, is shock. You have to shock the animatronic if they have blue eyes. The next part of this video is all about charging. Charging is when an animatronic will run at you either with only their eyes visible or they'll decloak. Some animatronics only charge once in their entire fight, and some are exceptions to this. But there are 2 types of charging, fake-outs and decloaks. Fake-out charges is when the animatronic will run at you with only their eyes visible. Now, one animatronic has a different fake-out than the others, which we'll touch upon when we get to that animatronic's video. And decloak charges are when an animatronic will run at you and will decloak or appear. This is when you have to use your shocker to shock the animatronic. Shocking the animatronic, unless it's one of the exceptions, will last you the win. Some of animatronics have more phases than others, and those will take multiple shocks. Glimpses, they're not necessarily a mechanic per se, but I thought I should at least mention them. There are glimpses of those after images that you'll see when fighting an animatronic. It's just a still model of the animatronic which will appear for a second, and once you look at it, it'll just disappear with some kind of noise associated to it. Before the end of this video, I'd like to go over some tips and tricks that I've learned from my many hours in AU and FNAF AR, and even Forsaken AR. But for AU specifically, a big tip I have for everyone is to use directional headphones. It makes the game so much easier. So many characters that we'll touch upon later really get so easy when you use directional headphones. Because directional headphones will allow you to be able to track a character's location purely by their voice and footsteps, and you won't have to worry about the static. It's just makes the game so much easier. Because you can tell what direction they're moving in, and you can move yourself to where the voice sounds like it's coming from right in front of you instead of to the left or to the right or whatever. Another tip is that your flashlight is not required to be used in most of the fights. It's certainly a very useful tool, but it is no way required since you can hear and see the static without using it at all. It's not as loud and noticeable without it, but it is certainly still there. And combining this with directional headphones, you can save a lot of batteries for fights that may take up a lot more of them, such as Plushtrap and Funtime Foxy, which we will be getting to later in this video. Not in this video, in this series. Thank you everyone for watching the first video of my new series, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new from this video, so please tell me what you think of this series in the comments, and tell me if you wish for this series to continue. I'll see you all in the next video, so Puppet Master 3, 3, 3, out.